Hello and welcome to another edition of It's Just Me, host of our Brent Fox. Today we're probably just going to go over a few subjects. The first being the upcoming fight with Caleb Plant versus Jose El Toro Resendiz, and then also co-featuring Jermall Charlo versus Thomas Cornflake LaManna. Um, I did actually just do a little bit of light research on Resendiz. Now, Resendiz is probably best known for beating Jared Hurd on a TKO victory where he had a laceration in his lip. Basically, he cut his lip real bad and couldn't continue to fight. Um, at Looking at that particular fight, it was a lot of back and forth exchanges. And to be quite honest with you, I think that if the fight may have continued, Jared Hurd probably would have won via split decision. Um, Resendez went on to fight. I think it was an Elijah Garcia, and unfortunately for Resendez, Elijah Garcia proved to be a little too much for him. Resendez is an orthodox fighter. He basically has basically a come forward Mexican type style to where he doesn't mind exchanges. Now, since he does not mind exchanges, that means that the defense that he actually has isn't so great. He is wide open for any shot you can probably think of. And he has actually been deposited on a canvas several times in his fighting career. Um, with him versus Caleb Plant, to be quite honest with you, it should be a fight to where it should not go the distance. Um, and I do think that Caleb Plant may win by technical knockout. I just think that Caleb Plant is way too skilled for Resendez. I just don't think that Resendez is going to be able to be responsible enough defensively um, to try to ward off Caleb Plant. Um, and yeah, he's way too wide open for shots. So more or less like on a technical level, he does have a high guard, which he'll just kind of come in and just block. He is also seen it. There are several occasions where he's actually just kind of flat-footed, and what that just basically means is that you're not up on your toes, being able to move and react quickly. So that being said, that's probably going to severely handicap him against somebody like Caleb Plant, who is best known for his immaculate boxing ability. Um, I think that unfortunately, yeah, Caleb is probably going to, if this goes the way that it looks like it's going to go on paper, Caleb is probably not going to have a hard time at all getting him out of there. Now, what I will say is that Resendez is able to give as much as he can actually take, which means that if you stick around and try to make this an exchange or a firefight, I think Resendez is would be up to task for that. I just think that Caleb is way too smart for that, and I just think that Caleb is going to use the advantages that he has to overwhelm Resendez, and I think that it's probably going to be an early closing. I look for a stoppage in probably rounds 5 or 7. um, I think that the straight right hand of Caleb Plant will probably be a deciding factor in the fight. Um, I would also probably look out for that shovel hook that he threw and knocked out Anthony Durrell with. That could also be a factor as well. I also think that the jab is probably going to be a huge factor as well. Sendez is pretty much straightforward. There's not a whole lot of lateral movement with him. So yeah, I think that Caleb properly lines him up with jabs and um, will pretty much do whatever he wants after that. So I think it's going to be a really good showcase for Caleb Plant if everything goes quote unquote according to schedule. Um, Now on to Jermall Charlo versus Thomas Cornflake LaManna. Now, when this fight was actually arranged or scheduled, this was supposed to also be a showcase fight for Jermall Charlo. Now, the inactivity that he's actually had, even though he did fight Jose Benavidez, I think it was probably sometime last year, if I'm not mistaken. Then he, I think that it would be probably best for him to just kind of keep himself active. Um, as I've mentioned in a previous short or video, I am concerned about Jermall's mental well-being. I think that LaManna may put up a better fight than what Jermall expects, and I'm really concerned when it reaches that particular point for Jermall because of his state mentally. I just hope that he does not, have a mental collapse in the ring or anything else like that. And I'm just concerned more or less from a human being standpoint than I am a fighter standpoint, as strange as that may sound. Now, on paper, this should again also be a showcase fight for Jermall. I think if he is anything like his 2018 or 2019 self, then he could properly line up Thomas LaManna and knock him out. Like, not TKO, not a not a TKO where he just overwhelms him with punches. I'm talking about put him to sleep, knock him out. But I don't really see that happening. I do see, I actually do see maybe a TKO, but um, I would not also be surprised if LaManna put on a better showing than what was expected. Um, I would be somewhat surprised if LaManna won, but the only reason that I may not be that shocked if he did was because, again, circling back to the mental state of Jermall Charlo. He has certainly been through a lot in his personal life, and it's not for me to actually tell his story. Um, but as far as what he does in the ring goes and how that may affect him in the ring, then I'm looking at that aspect of it. Um, I think that if Jermall is actually focused, he will probably put LaManna to sleep. Like, no need for a 10 count or anything else like that. Out of there. LaManna's LaManna's best work for the most part has been against overmatched opponents. LaManna does obviously have boxing ability, or he would not be a somewhat respected professional. So with that, the some of his boxing ability is good. Um, he okay. He can actually box good to a certain extent or to a certain level of competition. Let me rephrase it that way. He can actually box very good with a certain level of competition. But once that level of competition goes up, unfortunately, there have just been too many times where he was actually overwhelmed. Everyone likes to go back to the Irislan de Lara knockout, the one shot, one kill knockout that he suffered. But that was back in 2021. I would expect any professional to grow and develop since then. And since it's 4 years later, this is 2025, I would expect him to probably be a bit better considering that. But honestly, yeah. And honestly, if Jermall stays focused and just basically sticks with the game plan and not get mentally discouraged, He should probably be able to eventually put LaManna to sleep. The first rounds that I'm thinking that could probably happen would be I want to give him an early round, but rounds 7 and 8 keep coming into my mind. I just think that it probably will take a while for Jermall to kind of get reacclimated. In between then, I think LaManna puts on a brave face, if you will, and just kind of tries to hang in there with him. But I think that Jermall, if he does what he's supposed to, is going to be too much. And, the sad story of Thomas LaManna continues as far as him just being overwhelmed by elite level competition. Um, but we shall see if Jermall is back to being elite. Um, in other news, switching over, I want to talk a little bit about Pittsburgh Steelers football. That being said, we have had OTAs, I think, for the past 3 days. Um, Now, everyone was making a big deal of a certain quarterback that has not signed with the Steelers and is not at OTAs. Neither is TJ Watt, neither is DK Metcalf. And there are several stories of several other players that are not at OTA. So it's not just a Pittsburgh Steelers issue, but sometimes some of our fans kind of make more of something than what it actually is. I mean, these are voluntary camps. You either show up or you don't. That doesn't necessarily mean or indicate that someone is against the team or is not a team player or something of that nature. It's voluntary. That's the meaning. Um, now, what I actually was getting from people at the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. Shout outs to Chris Carter and what's my man's name? I'm gonna think of it later. I got the man's face in my head. I just can't think of it now. But shout outs to the Pittsburgh Post Gazette for the coverage for the OTAs. Um, it seems as though Caleb Johnson, who is a rookie running back that we actually drafted in the third round from Iowa, seems to be impressive. He is, excuse me, from what I understood, that he was very detail oriented, of course, worked very hard, and is constantly looking to improve, which is great. Now, on the other hand, Will Howard, unfortunately, is having his fair share of struggles. Will Howard, of course, is the sixth-round quarterback we drafted from Ohio State that previously won a college football championship. So I think that he's kind of, in the process of getting acclimated to the NFL. And again, he's a sixth-round draft pick for a reason. We cannot look for someone like that to realistically be our savior. He was drafted in the sixth round, unfortunately, for a reason. Now, the promise that he actually exhibits, as far as just constant improvement, is very, very encouraging. I don't think that this would be any different now that he's in the NFL. But again, it is a process. And with processes, you have to allow that particular person to grow in that process. And it's not for the rest of us to judge how quickly or say how quickly that process should actually take place. I do think that eventually he will become a good, um, low floor, serviceable quarterback. And that's the low floor. Um, but I just think that it is literally going to take some time, of course, for him to develop into a good NFL quarterback. So, for those that are a little antsy or making too much out of this because it is OTAs, I would just say, please just respect the process. Um, Also, wide receiver Roman Wilson seems to be catching a lot of attention. He seems to be able to uh, seemingly effortlessly blow through his drills. Um, they said that he was actually very explosive on his routes that he was actually running, which is very, very encouraging. His hands were also good, very encouraging, especially for a wide receiver. But again, my preference is to actually get a veteran in just as just as an insurance policy, especially if we're going to have Mason Rudolph at quarterback, which I will probably touch on in just a bit. Um, Calvin Austin also looked very good from what the reports were actually saying as well. So that's encouraging too. I think that Calvin Austin's development has also been very encouraging. I think Zach Asani was mentioning last year how he actually improved. And when I say he, Calvin Austin has improved on his route running ability, things of that nature. So I expect that to continue this season. I do look for him to actually be a big contributing factor as far as the slot receiver position is concerned, and that he, again, eclipses the 500-yard mark um, this season as well. Now, again, I think even with the complement of Robert Woods, we need to make sure that we have a solid um, either 1A or definite number two receiver that is a certified route runner, to be honest with you. Amari Cooper, I believe, is still out there. I don't think that his price tag is going to be that much, but I also have to think about what Amari Cooper thinks about the offensive system run by the Pittsburgh Steelers. There are some receivers that may not want to come to the Steelers because of the system that because of the run first system that we actually have here, and their opportunities for getting the ball may be limited, of course, with DK at the number one spot. So that is something to factor in, and I'm sure the Steelers have actually reached out to Amari Cooper, but I'm not sure whether or not he would probably want to come on board with the Steelers if he knows that his because of the offensive system and in the quarterback situation, his opportunities may be limited. Um, what I will probably say in regards to the quarterback situation is this: I think that Mason Rudolph. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. So, just kind of getting back on the Steelers quarterback situation. Um, I think that re-signing Mason Rudolph was really the ultimate insurance policy. We would basically have someone that is actually familiar with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not so much the offensive system. I think that it might, and shout out to Mason for actually just coming in and taking every opportunity that he can to try to get reacclimated to the offensive system that Arthur Smith now runs. So, if there's any other quarterback that's supposed to be coming in, I think that Mason would probably have a leg up on that particular individual um, because he's more familiar with the offensive system. Now, having said that, I think that is very important for a quarterback to build as much as possible with the receiver via timing, and more importantly, like trust that actually develops when you're getting reps with that particular receiver. So, as those sessions kind of go along, the more reps you get with someone, the better rhythm that you actually build with that particular person, and then the more successful or more likely to be successful that you would be. So again, shout out to Mason Rudolph for of course, showing up, taking each opportunity that they can to just try to build with whomever may actually be in the room as far as a eligible receiver. That includes running backs, of course. So Caleb Johnson has been working nonstop, um, to his credit, to try to get acclimated to the NFL, and more importantly, get acclimated to how his team does things. So shout outs to him too. I think that Caleb Johnson would be a pretty good rookie. I expect him to be very, very impactful, especially, and I'll say this, I think especially late in the season. I don't think that he'll be as impactful at the very beginning of the season, but I think towards the middle and then towards the later parts of the season, I think that he's probably going to open some eyes. It would also not surprise me that if he arrives on the scene and becomes very explosive from there. Now, I don't expect some crazy season from Caleb Johnson, but I do think that he'll have a respectable season. I think maybe 700 or 800 yards for his rookie year. And of course, when I mean that, I'm talking about rushing yards, 700 to 800 rushing yards, maybe 5 or 6 touchdowns. But I think that even though it doesn't seem like much, will be very impactful. I do think that he'll probably have uh, maybe 100 to 200 receiving, 150 to 200 receiving yards, which is very good for like a running back. So I think that he'll do all right. Yeah. Okay, y'all. Sorry about that. Once again, y'all, I'm a real live person living in a real situation. I got family here. They are, apparently doing their own thing, and they got to get stuff done for themselves. And then sometimes, that may add a little variety or a little splash to the show, if you will. But as I was saying, I think that Caleb Johnson will probably be a significant contributor to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that at best, he will have those numbers that I've mentioned before: 700 to 800 yards rushing, possibly 200 some odd receiving, which is very significant for a running back to get 200 receiving yards or better, um, especially as a rookie. What I also look forward to is seeing how the offensive line actually develops, since running back and offensive line go hand in hand. We'll just segue into that. Um, Roderick Jones has actually showed up to OTA's leaner. Shout outs again to Chris Carter for pointing that out. And he mentioned the reason that he was doing that was because he would rather go in lighter and then try to get heavier rather than go in heavier and then try to get lighter, which makes great sense. I'm really, really hopeful that I am wrong about what I've previously mentioned about Roderick Jones. Although I will be the first to tell you, I was initially frustrated with the Steelers for picking Broderick Jones, like actually jumping up to go get him. And I thought that he would probably be available in the second round, to be quite honest. I still kind of contend that we should have picked up Christian Gonzalez, who was the highest ranked corner. But since we picked up Joey Porter Jr. In the second round, yeah, I didn't sweat it as much. But again, you know, I didn't think it was necessary for us to jump up and pick Broderick, especially in that particular spot that we actually had. I think that, yeah, honestly, I just think that, I think that we probably could have gotten something else, but that's neither here nor there. Hopefully, I am wrong again about Broderick Jones, and I sincerely hope at this point to be more realistic. He develops into a trustworthy left tackle. I am not expecting him to be a Pro Bowler. I'm not expecting him to have a phenomenal season. If he can just have a solid season, as a left tackle, I would be immensely satisfied. I just think that, unfortunately, if Broderick Jones performed poorly at the right tackle spot and he had help from the tight end and occasionally, of course, backs coming out of the backfield, that if he is at left tackle in an island by himself, he's not going to fare well. Um, I just, uh, I just need to be proven wrong at this point about that. Um, and if Broderick goes on to have a very solid career, even a solid career, um, where he's playing fairly well, he's not someone that seems like a liability, then I have no problem coming back on my show and then apologizing to Broderick Jones for that. I have no problem with that at all. Um, Troy Fahatanu, on the other hand, is okay. Once again, that is a case of real person, real situation. So, Troy Fahatanu, the reports from the Pittsburgh Post Gazette um, seem to indicate that he's actually doing very well. Um, Now, he is trying to recover from the season ending injury that he actually had in practice last year. So I'm looking for him to actually just be healthy this season, and I think the rest may be able to work itself out. Before he got injured, he had a very good game against the Denver Broncos, and that was the second game of the season. So I'm expecting him, um, if he's healthy, to have a fairly good second season. I don't expect a sophomore slump or anything else like that. I would probably be very surprised if that were to happen. Um, Now, on the interior in the right, we have Mason McCormick. I think that he basically also had somewhat of an up and down season, but he was a fourth round draft pick. Usually, when you have a fourth round draft pick, you are drafting that person to be a depth piece. So for Mason to actually be able to kind of step up and be able to perform um, fairly well most of the time, I think I think that's significant. It was significant enough for us to just part ways with what's my guy's name, Daniels, um, last year, and actually Daniels was probably our best offensive lineman talent wise, um, and we just kind of went our separate ways with him. So. Isaac Sayamalu, who is actually the left guard. Um, to be honest with you, I expect a better season from him. Um, and while we were on that 5 game losing skid, Sayamalu didn't play that well. Um, so I'm hoping that he actually has a bounce back year and does fairly well for us. Now, what I will say in this 2026 draft, I'm looking for us to actually seek out a possible stand-in or replacement for Sayamalu. I just don't think that just kind of given his trajectory, it's yeah, it's kind of on the downside, and I think that we should probably make sure that we have something in place or someone in place in case it dips too hard. Um, so I would probably look for his replacement in the 2026 draft as well. Of course, we have our center. Um, oh my goodness. Uh, I just, I completely derailed. I know, Lord, what is Zach's? Oh my God. I'm so sorry, y'all. Hang on. Oh boy, y'all, I am so sorry. It's Zach Frazier. um, Zach Frazier has been a bright spot in the offensive line we drafted in the second round from West Virginia. Um, that is so terrible. Sometimes, guys, you have to laugh at yourself to keep from getting frustrated at yourself at the same time. This is no different. So Zach Frazier has actually played very well. I expect his trajectory to go up, and I expect him, if he doesn't get hurt or if he doesn't have some type of dramatic fall off from his play, uh, I expect him to actually wind up being a Pro Bowl center this season. Yes, it's a lot to ask, especially for someone in their second year. But I think that just showing what he did last year, I think that if his trajectory continues up, I mean that's bound to happen. Pro Bowls and All Pro honors and things of that nature. So, and then we've had a great tradition of centers as well. Now, for as long as I've been a fan, there was Dermonte Dawson. I know in the '90s we had him, and then Jeff Hardwick was pretty good in the late '90s, early 2000s, and then we had, of course, Marquise Pouncey, who I think, at very minimum, is gonna be a ring of honor for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I would push for him to be Hall of Fame. I really would. I think that his body of work has proven that. And you know, I would expect him to probably be wearing a gold jacket within the next 10, yeah, within the next 5 to 10 years. He may not be a first ballot, but I think that it's not going to take that many tries for him to actually get into the Hall of Fame. Um, but again, with that great tradition of centers, and of course, everybody loves Mike Webster or Webby. He kind of played before my time, and yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to actually watch and study him as I should. Of course, I've seen things from NFL films, things of that nature. So of course, there's that. But to have a chance to just kind of sit down and watch how he plays, things of that nature, I didn't have an opportunity to do that. But if Mike Webster is that beloved by the city of Pittsburgh, I'm gonna take the word for it. Because one thing about actual people from the Steel City, they are very, very hard on their players, as they should be, because the expectations are high. So I get it. Um, but yeah, I think that Zach Frazier and the great tradition of centers that we actually have at Pittsburgh, I think that if his path continues the way that it should, he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Um, on the defensive side of the ball, of course, I think the addition of Slay. Okay, don't call him Darius. Folks call him Slay. I'm gonna call him Slay. So that's his name. Um, so I think that he'll probably be a big factor as far as a contributor, and also more importantly, a teacher with us. And I think that Joey Porter Jr. is setting himself up for success by having these veterans with him, and then just obtaining and then hopefully applying the information that they're giving. Um, I think that the addition of Slay should be no different, and I think that he'll be all the better cornerback for it. Um, Also, uh, as far as the edge rushers go, I think that Jack Schroyer, I think that like Caleb Johnson, he's going to take a little while to possibly develop. But I think probably in the middle of the season, I think that we'll probably see more and more of him. I think that I think that he's probably going to be a pretty good contributor for us, and I look forward to seeing what he will do in the coming years. Um, of course, you know, you have guys like TJ Watt, which I know that we're trying to negotiate contracts and things of that nature to where we can make sure that TJ is locked in. Um, I I'm very confident that we'll get that done. Unfortunately, this is part of the process, and hopefully, we can just go ahead get that out of the way, make sure that TJ is secured, and just kind of move on. Alex Highsmith, of course, is a reliable, and I hate to say it this way, he's going to be a reliable Robin to TJ's Batman. Definitely appreciate what he actually contributes, especially with stopping the run. I think that is a very, very underrated skill as far as an outside linebacker operating like 3-4 or 3-3-5, things of that nature. Um, so again, I think that or or basically like a 4-2 nickel. Um, excuse me. I just think that I think that he'll be okay. Um, and as far as and I think that Nick Herbig, of course, is going to be a contributing factor as well. Um, you know, I don't expect anything less from Herbig. Herbig again is somebody that could probably start almost anywhere else, but under the tutelage of CJ, and then shout outs to him and his own ability. He's able to be impactful whenever he comes in and plays. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what else he's actually going to wind up doing. Um, Having said that, the defensive line are is the group that actually helps our edge rushers do what they do. Of course, with our first round draft pick, um, oh my goodness, Derek Harmon. With our first round draft pick, Derek Harmon. To be quite honest with you, I look at it as this: he's a rookie. He's gonna need time to grow and develop. I don't expect a rookie to come into the NFL, and I don't care what position it is. I don't expect a rookie to come in the NFL and hit the ground running. It is beautiful if it works out that way, but more realistically, there is a process that is involved. Okay. And then, of course, experience is actually going to be the best slash worst teacher because you know what they say about experience. Experience can be the worst teacher or the cruelest teacher. Shout outs to Red Tails. Um, it gives you the test first and then the lesson after. Um, Red Tails is a movie about a black squadron of airmen that finally get a chance to fight in World War II, and let me tell you, at they excel at what they did. Anyway, I think that Harmon is probably going to take his fair share of lumps as any rookie would, and I think that we probably need to be able to set realistic expectations about what his impact actually is going to be. Um, I would expect him to actually be a little bit more involved, maybe in run downs to where he could help stop the run, as opposed to putting him in pass rush situations to where he is required to try to rush the passer. I think that because he's probably going to be a force in stopping the run that will be a lot more successful, especially with the inside backers being Patrick Queen, um, Peyton Wilson, and then excuse me, and then Cole Holcomb, who's actually coming back from injury. I think that those three will probably be, significantly helped as far as being able to just clearly shoot down lanes or gaps and then shutting the run down. Um, I have to say this. I am disappointed that we did not keep Landon Roberts. Um, I get that what Coach Tomlin says is, hey, if I got a younger guy that does something and an older guy that does the same thing, I'm going with the younger guy. That all well and good, man. But I just think for impact and leadership purposes, we should have kept Atlanta Roberts. It's especially now. Um, I think that he would have largely benefited from the improvements that we actually are making on paper as far as addressing the defensive line. Now, whether or not it works out on the field, we have yet to see that. But it 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 really appears as though we are making a valid attempt to try to get the defensive line better, to where it will help our linebackers make more plays. So I would have loved to have seen how Landon Roberts would have been able to utilize that. And I want to, at this point in time, thank Orlando Roberts for what he did with the Steelers when he was here. So salute to you, Orlando Roberts. Thank you, and good luck. And I sincerely wish you good luck with the Raiders. Okay. Um, yeah, I just didn't get that. But going to the safeties, which I previously missed. Sorry about that. Um, Deshaun Elliott has been a very pleasant surprise as far as a free agency pickup. And I think that with his addition, he has allowed um, Minka to actually be able to make a lot more plays, or make his presence more imposing, rather, um, in the secondary. And I think that because of that, even though his numbers are low, I think that his his abilities are going to be highlighted, and I think that that actually gives a lot of quarterbacks pause to throw in any area that Minka may actually be in. I think, just because the numbers are low doesn't mean that Minka's not being effective. I think quite the opposite. I think his numbers are low because he is effective enough to deter any quarterback from throwing into an area where he may be around. So, we'll see what happens this season as well. And for those naysayers that think that Minka's a waste of money, y'all don't realize. I would encourage y'all to watch film. I'll just put it that way. I would encourage y'all to watch film, um, as far as what's actually going on defensively in the secondary, particularly. And you'll kind of see that people are actually trying to avoid the area that Minka's in, um, as a result. I think that they're trying out Deshaun Elliott a lot more, but I think that they're willfully and purposely just not trying to go to an area where Minka is. And that's how I view it. Now, oh my goodness, I I think I'm just kind of losing track. Hang on, my apologies, y'all. Special teams is what I was actually trying to look at. Um, with Kenneth Gainwell being a running back that we actually signed here early, I think that his impact on special teams was probably uh, one of the reasons why we actually signed him. And I am very, very surprised that we have not released Cordero Patterson yet. I'm not sure why that is. Um, I know that Arthur Smith has actually had a history with this particular person, but again, Cordero does not look like Cordero. And uh, to be honest, and I don't want this to sound harsh because this is a man's job, and I get it. But I don't see how he's actually going to maintain a roster spot, given the way that he actually played last season. Yes, he caught a great touchdown pass against Baltimore last season, but again, other than that, and yes, he did okay. Yes, he did very well when he was getting touches the Colts game, but he also got hurt that game and hasn't looked the same since. Um, Unfortunately, it's very slow and laboring when he actually tries to return kicks. I just, yeah, I just don't see us actually being able to keep him. Um, so I think that Kenneth Gainwell should be an upgrade as far as return now, a returner. Now, as far as like punt return, I think that I would still keep Calvin Austin in that particular role. He did actually get us a touchdown last season. So I would look for Calvin Austin third to still return punts. I think that Kenneth Gainwell will probably be the one returning kicks. Um, so I would probably look for those gentlemen to actually be our returners. Now, as far as our special teams coverage unit, Danny Smith is going to have them on point. I'm not really worried about that. I think that the coverage, for the most part, will do well. And for the most part, we haven't faltered a whole lot. So shouts out to Coach Smith for keeping us in line on that. Now, of course, as far as kicking goes, we have one of the best, if not arguably the best kicker in the game, in Chris Boswell. I think the Wizard of Oz will also be very impactful, especially this season because of the QB situation. I think that we're probably going to have to offer 3 points more often than what we would like. But I think that if we have a very reliable option to do that with, Chris Boswell is the best, literally the best man for the job. So I look for him to actually be able to have another phenomenal year. And then as far as punting goes, uh, you know, I would like to be able to re-sign Corliss Waitman, but I know that we had what was the gentleman's? I can't think of the gentleman's name that was punting uh, was punting for the Houston Texans. He was really good, and then he came with us, and then he got hurt the Falcons game. But he might actually be coming back. I don't think that will go wrong either way, but my preference is Corliss Waitman because he is the one that actually punted for us last year. Um, so, I would probably be more inclined to keep him, but those are just my thoughts. Um, Now, speaking of such, I just want to wrap this up. Excuse me, guys. I just want to wrap this up by saying, um, make sure that if you have someone um, that you love and appreciate, please let them know that. Um, please let them know that. Um, I also want to give I also want to make sure that I give a very special shout out to my father who had a birthday last Sunday. I forgot to mention on one of my shorts or one of my shows, to my father, a very happy birthday. I know that on his day he was very celebrated and appreciated. So, you know, shouts out to him for that. And, Dad, I love you very much. Um, Happy 76th birthday. And I look forward to seeing more birthdays from you. All right. As I mentioned, your warranty is not up yet. So, we got to keep that thing going. Shouts out to my brothers in the LDBC. Please check out Coach 67 Sports TV as a plethora of shows. that he sprinkles throughout the week on all social media platforms, particularly on YouTube. He does Southern University content, and I think that he is the best Southern University content maker um, on the face of this planet, to be quite honest. And then also, check out my other brother, Jared O. 11 Green. He has shows like A Black Man's Perspective, and then he also has a Southern Baller show. Black Man's Perspective usually comes on Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube, and then the Southern Baller show is at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard, also on YouTube on Sundays. And both shows are very, very entertaining and they're very impactful. Um, Thank you all so much for tuning in to It's Just Me. And until I see you guys next time,